Hello friends. So this is a very impromptu book review, book gush. I love this book and I don't want to gatekeep it. I kind of am that person that wants to gatekeep things, because you know that feeling of when something feels so special to you, you love it so much, you want it to just be yours. You want to just hug it tight and hold it. I get that feeling often about the things that I love, but this is too good not to share. Now, it has been blowing up a little bit as of late on Bookstagram, but I haven't really seen it on BookTube yet. And that's just a disservice to this author because this book is so good. It is going to be on my top favorite books of the year without a doubt. So that is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, the start of a new adult fantasy series. From what I can see, this appears to be self-published. So I love supporting a self-published author. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna feel so bad if I'm wrong about that, but I think it's self-published. Everything from start to finish of this book absolutely blew me away. I am so impressed by this author's work. So needless to say, this is like a glowing 10 out of 5 stars. I love it that much. I tend to veer towards the side of being very cautious with spoilers because I feel like if you know too much going into a book, it takes away the fun of reading it. Personally, myself, I don't like to know much. And so that was something that was so great for me. So what I will tell you is the back of the book, the synopsis, isn't misleading, but it doesn't quite give you a taste of what you're going to get. We have the creators and they have their dragons who sailed skyward to curl up into balls just outside of gravity, basically littering the sky with a tombstone of moons. But they didn't expect these dragons to fall. So we're following our main character. I say her name is Reeve. I don't know how you technically say it. And she's part of this organization whose job is to kill. So they are more of the rebellion group against the Empire. There's a bounty hunter who the crown employed trying to capture her. So you're following this journey, this little bit of a rebellion, and then it just explodes into this expansive fantasy world that I wasn't expecting. I thought it was going to be a simple fantasy romance. I thought it was going to be another rebellion act. Fear not, if that's a trope that you're sick of, that is not all this book is. There's so much to it. I'm just trying to look at the back to see exactly what I can tell you. So we're following her, and then we're also following Khan, and he's on this vengeance quest, and he sees something that sort of unravels everything. I can't say because it's going to be totally spoilery. Okay, what did I love about this? When you start this book, you're reading it, you immediately feel like you're in this cozy fantasy video game. It feels so cozy fantasy. Don't get me wrong, this doesn't stay cozy fantasy, but I think because the author's descriptions were immaculate. It was so well done. First of all, the writing in this is spectacular, immaculate, perfection. It's very long, it's very wordy as far as the verbiage, the sentence length and structure and things like that, which is something that I absolutely adore. I sort of feel like if you like Samantha Shannon, if you like Priory of the Orange Tree vibes in writing, that this will very much work for you. They're not the same at all, but things that I loved about them, I loved in each of them. And so I don't know. I would very much venture to say if you like Priory of the Orange Tree, you'll like this. Well, this is a chunky book too. I mean, coming in at almost 700 pages, it reads very quickly. So let's go through some things about the book really quickly because this book, just like I said, I was blown away. Every single heading has this beautiful artwork of the chapters. How gorgeous is that? There are also these bits kind of sprinkled throughout where you get, maybe it's a letter or text or something like that there's a graphic of. So something similar to that, but it doesn't take up too much time and space. It's not annoying and it doesn't feel young. It feels very properly used. At the beginning of the book, you also have a glossary, which I sort of read through right at the beginning after I first started it. But then I realized it's pretty much all well explained, so you don't have to rely on it. So you have age and time explained, you have terms, you have a list of the creatures and beings, and then you also have a list of the characters at the beginning. So this is so well developed, and you even have a pronunciation guide. It's so in-depth and so well thought through. That's just like the structure of the book. As I said, I cannot say enough good things about the writing in this. When I compare this to other fantasy romance in the genre, they aren't even comparable. Like, whether they are self-published fantasy romance or traditionally published, this writing blows them all out of the water, in my opinion. I'm very particular when it comes to writing in books, and this didn't feel like you were picking up a fantasy romance, even though there are romance elements and that has a lot to do with the plot. It just felt so expansive. So as I said, you start out on this journey with this girl, this woman, because these are all adults, and she's pretty cutthroat. She seems like she's going to be your typical archetype of that badass female warrior character. She's not, though. I mean, she has a lot of those character traits, but she is so well crafted and very much developed into her own character. She is not a character I feel that I've read a million times, and that's hard to do with this type of female protagonist as well. So that really stood out to me. As you go on and you get about, I would say, halfway through the book, there's definitely some reveals and twists that just solidified how much I love this book and left me feeling like, okay, this is going to be a favorite. Because kind of like, you know, when you're reading Throne of Glass, how it starts out like very small scale, and then you think by the end of this series, like, you've met so many characters and the world is so big. I mean, I don't know that this is going to be a series that long, but it has that feeling to it where you start out kind of small and then slowly you expand into this world, which I think gives you the perfect amount of time to get to know the character and the world and get attached and invested without being overwhelmed. And then slowly but surely, as you move through, you get more and more of a glimpse into the scale of this world and everything that's truly going on. Let's talk about the romance aspect for a little bit, because oh my God, the male romantic interest in this was my sweetest cinnamon roll ever. He is like a perfect male love interest, in my opinion, especially in contrast to our very feisty female main character. I know that trope, you've seen it done a million times. For me, it just worked so well in this compared to how it usually does. I think it was really unique. I think that so many tropes and ideas are reused and loved, and as long as they have their own impact and twist, then that doesn't matter. And this definitely had its own tale to tell, its own statement to make, and it was just, I can't stop raving about it. Okay, there's cool magic in this. There are creatures who don't have any magic, and they're kind of marked by having like to wear like a clip in their ear type of thing. And then there are actually a lot of magical creatures in this. So at the beginning, when it tells you like all of the different magical type of creatures, it's really cool. There are a lot of different types of dragons from the different places. But then, I mean, you have fae, and you have a lot of different really cool graphically described characters that I'm like, oh, I would love to have some fan art for this book. And I think that it didn't rely too heavily upon the magical elements, but they were really well incorporated into it. Like, for me, it was just enough use of magic, because sometimes you have this magical world and this magical system where you're just like left wanting so much more. And I feel like we got a really good balance of having just the right amount of the magical elements. You had great friendships that you cared about this. Like, the side characters were so good in this. I was just like, this had me in a chokehold from the very beginning. So I always forget to talk about like a million things when I'm doing a spoiler-free review. I think I like skipped some of the major categories, but just like to try to go over them quickly, the writing was immaculate. A little bit more leaning towards lyrical writing, purple prose if you like Laini Taylor. And it's not overly purple prose, but it's lengthier sentences. Definitely like, could things be said in less words? Yeah, but that's not my style. This is my style. So the writing for me was a 10 out of 10. The world building was just incomparable to other fantasy romances, so much more expansive, in depth. And the plot was also so meandering, but not in a negative way, like in a really good way. Like you thought you were starting out small scale with the plot, and then it turned into something more and more and more. And then you have a million questions and you don't necessarily get every question answered. And then when the book ends, you're going to have 2 million questions because it opens up this whole new category. You also have certain tropes that I love that I'm not going to mention because it's total spoilers in my opinion to say what the tropes are, but it was just flawlessly done. The setting and the actual like vibe and atmosphere, I have a really hard time picturing things, and I think that the atmosphere and setting in this was excellent as well. It was just so well done compared to what I'm used to. Characterization, as I said, these were not cookie cutter characters. They were really well developed and nuanced and felt so real, fully realized. I felt the chemistry in the romance, and I really loved how the romance wasn't like the sole part of this, that there was just so much work to the world. So I feel like I'm really rambling. If I haven't sold you on this book yet, like there's no way you're still watching, like you've clicked off of it. If you're still watching, I'm pretty certain that you're going to be willing to give this a try. So if this is not on my favorites of 2024 by the end of the year, you can come back and be like, haha, you were wrong, but there's no way. It was just that good. And like I said, it is a cliffhanger ending. You're going to finish it and you're going to be like, what? Okay, I have to wait. There's not even, as far as I know, a cover or a title or anything for book 2. But when I tagged the author in my Instagram update, she said like, I can't wait to get you guys book 2. So she must be working on it, I'm guessing. This was so good to the point where I went and ordered the stuff that she has already written, and I can't wait to read that as well. So you guys, don't sleep on this book. Go get it. Do yourself a favor, because you're gonna have a great freaking time. This was so amazing. Please comment if you've read this so we can just love it together. Even if you didn't love it, I mean, I like hearing other people's opinions too. And in this case, if you didn't love it, you'd be wrong. But I love hearing other opinions. So if you didn't like it, feel free to tell me why. Just keep spoilers out of the comments, or like say if you're going to spoil something so that no one gets spoiled, because I do feel like it would be such a shame to be spoiled for this book that I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the world even more than Sarah J. Maas's new book. Don't get me wrong. Like, I am a Sarah J. Maas fangirl for life. I love her. And I loved reading Crescent City 3 because it was so familiar. But this was just, it felt so fresh and new. It was refreshing to read from start to finish. I was like, wow. I was just impressed the whole time. Anyways, I'm gonna stop babbling. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. I've been thinking too much lately.